Hey buddy, Crow back again with another Zaccaria Pinball video and another my favorite top 10 tables list, I suppose. I mean, I've done one for the solid state tables, I've done one for the electromechanical tables, so now it's the remake tables turn. And I saved this one for last because, well, last for now. I mean, I might do the deluxe tables if we ever finish those, but the remake tables are done. There's 27 of them. This took me quite a bit of time because I did want to replay every single one of these, and I spent countless hours doing so. And these tables are quite a bit different from the solid state and the EM tables. Well, first of all, because they are reimaginings. These are not real tables, whereas the solid state tables and the EM tables were. These were just totally made up. You could only play them in this digital version of them, and as such, you know, they have certain things that they kind of all have in common. They're just implemented a little bit differently in each one. For starters, there's each one of these tables does have a multi-ball one way or another. You know, there's combos and loops. But the thing I like to focus on in these tables is starting modes and going through the modes in all these tables. So a lot of my criteria for picking my top 10 were the tables where it's not so frustrating to activate the start mode and actually start a mode, because then you're actually doing different things in those modes. There are quite a number of tables here where I was just getting frustrated even trying to start a mode, and then sometimes in some cases, even when I did get the start mode activated, well, the light activated in order to hit where you needed to hit to start that mode, that shot may be a little bit frustrating. So there were some tables in here where I was just getting really frustrated. It was really funny is the tables that I was getting frustrated on, I spent even more time on to see if I was there was something I was kind of missing, but and then I was like, no, this can't be. Some of these tables just, you know, if in the cases where sometimes it takes quite some time to start a mode or light the start mode, just required shooting in the same spot again and again and again and again and again. And if you're always shooting at the same spot again and again and again, I find that kind of boring and irritating, especially when the shot may be so tight that you maybe just be off by a little bit every time. I might be just going on a little tangent here, but yeah, the starting the modes was is pretty much my number one criteria for these tables in determining which ones were my favorite. So we're only going to talk about my top 10. So we'll start with number 10, and I'll talk about each one just a little bit before moving on to the next one, and that's the way I'll do it, and that's the way I've done the previous two videos in this series somewhat. So let's just get started with number 10. All right, in my number 10 spot, I have the Tropical Remake table. And yeah, I thought this one was pretty interesting. It actually does some things quite a bit differently than a lot of the other tables in the remake category. Starting a mode is actually quite easy. To light the start mode light, which is here, you just have to hit this ramp, and this ramp, and then the start mode light gets activated, and you just have to shoot in here. It's a really easy shot, and you start a mode. But the interesting thing is, every time you finish a mode, which, you know, maybe hitting a certain number of targets or shooting a certain ramp a certain number of times, for example, this one that's active right now is hitting the left ramp 3 times. I just realized that you could barely see this up here, but I didn't think it was really necessary that you'd see that. But every time you finish it, you activate one of these circles that actually start here and go down here. So like the first mode you finish, you get 5 million. Then after the second mode you finish, you get multi-ball. Then the third one, you get a lucky ball, whatever that means. And then the fourth one is a game of volleyball, which is kind of a sub mode within the mode. It's kind of weird. And then, you know, the fifth mode, you get an extra ball, and then so on and so forth. And that's why I like this table. Now, the reason this is so low in the top 10, actually number 10, is because the ball can drain in the out lanes super, super, super easy. All it takes sometimes is for the ball to get caught in the slings, and then it just bounce right over, and not even shaking the table can get you the bounce back that you need to save the ball. And it can get irritating after a while. Now, you do have the left and right kickbacks here, which can help you, but like almost all of the other remake tables in this category, when you start a mode, the kickbacks deactivate. So it's often that you'll lose the ball in the outlane during a mode because you just saw I started a mode, kickbacks no longer activated. I don't know why they set it up this way, but that's the way pretty much all of there it goes. But here, the shoot again, it was lit. So that's just the way this was all set up. And if it weren't for that one issue, this could have been much higher on the list. So other than that, it's at my number 10. All right, in my number 9 spot is the Earth, Wind, Fire remake table. And I like this one just because of how kind of simplistic it is, and you don't really get those unfair drains that you do in some of the other tables. And I felt like I could just play this one forever. It's super easy to start the modes. If I remember correctly, you just have to hit the left pit. Yeah, you hit all the targets in the left pit to activate the start mode light up here. The right pit lights up here. That actually hits that multi-ball that activates the lock balls and multi-ball. Funny thing is that I've never really been able to hit this on purpose at all. But since it's just multi-ball, and it was funny, I can hit this start mode very easily. And I just, I can like fly through the modes. In fact, in this particular game, I got quite a high score. And I just had a good time playing it. So that's why Earth, Wind, and Fire is my number 9 table. The other thing I need to mention are these two towers here that every time you hit them, the pillars kind of sink into the table. And I don't really know what the purpose of that was. I don't think you score any points for doing that. It's just kind of blocking the ball, and then when they're down, they're just down permanently until you lose the ball, and then starting the next ball, they raise up again. Never really made any sense to me. But yeah, that and the fact that I could never hit this spot, and the fact that I could actually play this table for quite a long time, maybe prevent it from getting higher up on the list. But yeah, just leaving it at my number 9 spot. Alright, in my number 8 spot, I have the Time Machine remake table. And this was actually the second to the last remake table that they ever created. So it does things a little bit differently. It has some new ideas put into it. One of the more unusual things it has is this ball that's constantly floating around the table. And guess what? If you can knock that ball off its magnet, bam, you got instant multi-ball. And that's the thing I mostly like about this table. I think it's so unique. And so when you have 2-ball multi-ball going, another ball will come around and do the same thing. Knock that one note down, and then you get 3-ball multi-ball. Now, the one thing that this Time Machine remake does that none of the other remake tables will let you do is let you activate and start modes and let you run modes during multi-ball. Normally, in all the other tables, when you're in multi-ball, that's the only thing you could do. You can't stack multi-ball with anything else. However, you can with the Time Machine remake, and that just makes it a little bit cooler. What's also interesting about the Time Machine remake is that the modes are split between the future and the past. So, and they each have different targets for each. What I mean it by is when you're in the past, I think when you're in the past or the future, I can't remember which, but one side, I think the past, when you're in the past, if you hit this row of drop targets, you activate the start mode here to do the past modes, which are listed here, Dinosaur, Jungle, and Volcano. But when you're in the future, you hit these targets, and when they're all lit, then you can start the future modes over here. So it's got like a split dual identity, and I think that's pretty cool. The reason this isn't higher on the list is because I think this table needs a little bit more refining. The ball tends to fly around wildly a lot, especially when you hit, I believe, this ramp. The ball will just come, and it doesn't slow down. It just comes super quick. So you don't really have a chance. You could lose the ball very easily if you're not noticing it coming super quick. And, it just, it's with multi-ball constantly going on the table, it could be a little bit difficult to aim for certain things. But again, you always want to have that multi-ball going, so you always have a ball in play, so you can make your ball 1, 2, and 3 last longer, as it were. Although, as you can see here, it can end quite quickly anyway. Another flaw that this table has is, for some reason, every time I get the left kickback, the ball shoots right into the right outlane. Seems like something that should be corrected, because that is not good. You might be able to avoid doing that by shaking the table at a certain point, but that seems rather difficult to do, and also rather unnecessary. If a couple of those things were fixed with this table, it could be higher on the list, but as it is now, it's sitting at number 8. In my number 7 spot, I have Spooky Remake, and I guess the reason it just wound up in my number 7 spot is just because there's really nothing I don't like about this table at all. It's pretty straightforward. The ball seems to stay in play, and doesn't seem like there's too many unfair drains, if any. Modes are fairly easy to start. Exactly, you just have these targets and these targets on the side. Start mode is lit, which is this shot here, which you do have to hit a drop-down target first in order to access that. It also may be, not as wide open as, it's kind of a tight shot to start that mode as well, but it's not completely undoable, and you could get the timing down after a while too, just like there, right under the skull. I also kind of like how the pop bumpers are a bit hidden, so every time the ball goes in this area, you could hear it in the pop bumpers, but you can't see it. I thought that was pretty interesting. But, yeah, I just, here we're doing a mode here, the giant spider mode. All the modes seem completely doable, but not completely easy as well. It's a fair challenge, I think, this table is, and that's why this is sitting in my number 7 spot. In my number 6 spot, I've got the Nautilus Remake, and I guess the reason this is up here is because this is a nice, it's kind of a relaxing table to play in a way. You don't get really frustrated by unfair drains or anything. All the shots are super easy to get. The way you activate modes in this table is by hitting all the targets here, which I think spells spinal or spiral. Yeah, still spells spiral. Now, this could be fairly... Sometimes it's very difficult to hit. You got to get the ball right at the tip here and shoot it up there. But also, sometimes it'll just hit if you hit the left slingshot here, which I tried to do and drain. That is the other unusual thing about this table, is that on this side, the middle channel here is what'll drain the ball. If it goes all the way over here, which is more likely to do, it does shoot back onto the table, so that's pretty fair. But once you spell spiral, the start mode light is right here. And again, I don't really have any problems doing all the modes or whatnot. And the other weird thing, there's a weird thing about this table. And the weird thing is that this ramp is actually this ramp. So the tail end and the start end are both ramps. And so that's kind of an unusual thing. You don't see that kind of thing very often. And then I can't remember exactly what it takes to activate the lock balls, but that's right here. So that's pretty easy to do, actually. I think you might just have to spell shell by hitting these ramps. That might be what activates it. And then you've got this little area up here with this flipper up here with another lock. This is not a lock hole, but it's just a hole for an award up here. And you do have a little bit something extra to do up here. So, this, completely fair. It's got a lot of stuff on, not a lot of stuff, but enough stuff on there to keep it interesting without overloading the table. And as you can see, we got the locks lit here. So, yeah, it's a pretty relaxing table, not too difficult. And still offers kind of a decent challenge, and I actually find it pretty easy to complete all these modes in one game, and sometimes I could even get through them multiple times if necessary. So it might be a little bit too easy, but again, I just find it a bit relaxing to play as well. So there we go. That is my number 6. That is Nautilus Remake. In my number 5 spot, I've got the Zaccaria remake, and I just kind of like the interesting way this table is laid out. There's a lot of ramps, a lot of shots to take. Some of them might be a little tight, but after a while, it actually gets pretty easy to hit the shots that you're looking for. You even have this flipper up here and a lock hole up here. In order to get this shot, you do have to use this flipper here, which you can do by kind of getting the ball around either here or here, and the ball will drop to the flipper here to give you that shot. In order to start modes in this table, you do have to spell Zaccaria. You don't have to spell it in order, but you do have to light the Z, the A. They're not in the order, correct order, but to spell Zaccaria. But each one of these green lights that is a letter, you light it by hitting that shot. Once they're all lit, the start mode light is activated, and that is right here, kind of underneath the snake. So not too difficult to do. I think hitting these blue lights, all of them, is what activates the lock for the multi-ball. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I do like the challenges on this. The waterfall, the snake, the spider. Some of them are difficult, some of them are easy. I can't complain either way. I mean, to complete a difficult mode can be fun. Oh yeah, also when you start the mode, you get to select which one you want to do. So I usually try to select the ones I think are the easiest first, and then I think the waterfall and the snake may be the two hardest ones, especially if you can't get your shots in on where you need to go with those. But yeah, after a while, I didn't find it too difficult to actually complete all of these modes. So yeah, this table I thought was pretty good. It actually ranked it a little bit higher above tables like Nautilus and Spooky, just because I like the layout just a little bit more. So there you go. Zaccaria Remake is in my number 5 spot. And in my number 4 spot, I've got the Star God Remake table. And this was the very last remake table that was put out in 2019. Well, period. This is the very last one in the list here. And they actually pulled out all the stops for this one because completing the modes in this one is far more satisfying than it is in any other table. And the reason for that is, well, first of all, to start the modes, what do you have to do? I think you just have to knock down all these drop targets here. I think, I don't really remember. I just remember the drop. Yeah, I think you do have to knock down all the drop targets. And then you lock any hole. You get the ball at any hole. One here, or one here, under here. And what happens is the mode starts, but you get a story. So the first mode is like the Cave of Hayden, and he explains that you have to travel to the Cave of Hayden. And guess what you have to do for mode 1? You have to make the ball roll for 20 meters without losing it. So if you could get that to happen, you succeeded in the mode. And then you continue to the second mode, which might be a trial of some sort. And also, the modes are a little bit different than all the other remake tables as well, because all the other remake tables might be something like, oh, just hit all these targets, or hit this ramp a certain number of times. But in this one, it may say, okay, hit this ramp twice. You hit the ramp twice. And it's like, okay, now you have to hit these targets. And then you hit those targets. And it's, okay, now you have to do this. And you have to do the series of events in order to complete the mode. And it tries to kind of make sense in context of the story that it's telling. And I just think that's really cool. And that's why this is in my number 4 spot. One downside with you got this upper area here, which is kind of cool as well. But the one downside with this table is that sometimes the balls do drain super easy on this table. So it's kind of worth it to try and get the kickbacks activated whenever you can. But again, like all the other remake tables, once you're in a mode, those kickbacks deactivate, even if they were active before. Kind of a disappointment. I wish they could just stay active to give you a better chance of completing those modes, because this table does wind up being a little bit more difficult because of that. And that's the thing here. It comes down here and it'll kind of bounce and kind of teeter on draining. So you do have to remember, there goes drain. You do have to nudge a lot in order to prevent those kind of drains from happening. But a little bit of a disappointment there. Could be a lot higher if it wasn't for that. well, a lot higher. It couldn't be much, 3 more spots higher. That's the most it could be. I'm already putting this in my number 4. But yeah, I just thought the effort and the story and everything with this table made it way more interesting than almost any of the other tables, remake tables, period. So yeah, I had to put it in my number 4 spot. All right, in the number 3 spot, I've got the Fire Mountain remake table, and this is very easily in the top 3. This is a really enjoyable table to play, if not for whoever did the voice with the big booming voice and the echo on it. It's just kind of really cool to play and listen to the shout outs in this table. But other than that, the table layout is really good. It's completely fair. I don't feel there's really any unfair drains in this table. In order to activate modes, all you really have to do is keep hitting the spinner up here, or get the ball to go up this ramp, and that'll give you letters in Eruption. Once Eruption is spelled out, the start mode light over here will activate, and you'll have to do the modes in order to spell out BLAST. The first one is like hitting these drop targets here, and then you've got to do things like hit the ramps a certain number of times, or hit the center lane like I'm doing right here, or the spinner, hitting this ramp. Nothing really too difficult to do. The most difficult thing might actually be these drop targets over here, because if you miss, or even sometimes if you hit, you run the risk of hitting this out lane here. But once you spell blast, you get a whole bunch of points, you get an extra ball, and you can start to do blast again, and you could just keep doing that, I guess. That's really all there is to this table. There is a multi-ball, or I think in this table, I think there is a multi-ball. All these tables have multi-balls. Oh, there it is. It's the same, I don't really remember what activates that. I was really just focused on going through the modes, because I just thought it was really fun to do that. I love when you get a side flipper and a shot like this up here. I just really enjoy something like that. So yeah, I just really enjoyed this table, and I really enjoyed the shout outs in it. So that's why this is in my number 3. In my number 2 spot, I've got the Black Belt remake table. And again, I just really like the layout of this one, which I kind of have to like, I guess, in order to be in my top 3 here. But I really like the progression in this table as well. In order to start a mode, you've got to hit these 3 targets here, which kind of spell out UKE. Not really sure how that's supposed to be pronounced, whether it's Uke or Yuki or whatever. But then you activate the start mode light here, and that can be hit with either this flipper or this flipper up here, which I just did. And then, of course, you've got your different modes, your different challenges in order to hit. But the thing is, with this table, there are a lot of them. White belt, yellow belt, orange belt, green belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, red belt, black belt. There's a lot of modes, and some of them are actually pretty interesting. If you remember in the... oh, look at my computer was actually stuttering there. Because I actually left Google Chrome open while I was playing this. That's why I got some stuttering here. But... if you remember the original Solid State Black Belt, it had that carousel of standing targets. Now, this one doesn't have that, but what this does have, and none of them are up here right now, but there's a circle of drop targets that'll pop up around this bumper, and one of the modes is to actually have to hit all of those. Actually, that's the mode I'm in right now, and trying to hit these targets up here actually requires quite a bit of work to do. It's easier said than done, because you can't hit those directly, but you get it in that. Yeah, you can see that I was having some stuttering problems here, But yeah, you have to get it in the pop bumper array and hopefully hit those. Normally, I don't like the tables where it's up to risk in order. You can't shoot those targets directly. But in this table, it kind of works, I think. So yeah, I really like that. I think this does have a multi-ball in here somewhere, although I don't really go for it. If at all, yeah, it's the same target here. I don't really know what starts that. I just really like the fact this has got a lot of different modes and a lot of different things to do on it. So that's why Black Belt Remake is in my number 2 spot for the remakes. And after replaying all the remake tables, my favorite remake table as of now is the Pinball Champ remake. I just really like the layout of this one. I like how the sound effects are kind of those old school, almost early solid state table sound effects. You don't really have it's not really frustrating to play is that the outlane drains don't really happen that frequently. This one is actually, it does go in here pretty often, but that's not a drain. That's a kind of like almost like a, where you lock the balls for multi-ball. And every time it goes in there, you lock a ball, and the third time it happens, you just get multi-ball. I like that. There are a lot of different modes in this table, and they're all named after different pinball maneuvers, like the loop pass, the tap pass, the flick pass, the live catch, the drop post pass, dead bounce. I just really like the terminology being used here for the names of different modes. Not necessarily that you actually have to do any of these for the modes. Again, it is the kind of thing where it's like, oh, hit these ramps or hit these targets in order to complete the mode, that kind of thing. But in order to start the modes, all you got to do is hit all the numbered targets. The 1 here, 2, 3, 4 here, and 5, 6, 7 right here. And then the start mode lights up over here. And you're off to starting your modes. And I do like all these shots in this table. One of the more interesting ones is this shot up here, where you get this line here. Because when you hit it, the ball kind of rotates up this trophy. If you get it all the way to the top, boom, you activate like 1 million the first time. The second time, 3 million. The third time, 5 million. And I think the last time is 10 million. And I don't know if it stays at 10 million after that or if it resets again. But it's a really interesting way to get a lot of points in this table. But again, it's no fun to shoot for the same thing again and again and again. And I do believe you get more points for finishing modes, so I always like to go for that just to put some variety in there. But yeah, I just really like how this table is laid out, how it plays, the sound effects, and the different variety of things you get to do in this table by completing the modes. And the fact that the multi-ball just kind of happens. You don't have to worry about going for multi-ball. It's just something that happens in this table, and I really enjoy that. So yeah, boom. Pinball Champ is in my #1 spot. And there you go. That's my top 10 remake tables in Zaccaria Pinball. When I was first started playing these out, I was actually started from shooting the Rapids and went down, and these were the order these were actually released in. And you could really see an improvement from when we start to get to the middle point here with Pinball Champ. Down through the rest of these, they really improved after that. In fact, there were very few previous to Pinball Champ that actually wound up in my top 10. I mean, we had Earth, Wind, Fire, we had Spooky, Magic Castle almost made it in. That was actually my number 11. Zancor was in there. That's 3. 3 out of the 10 were only pre-Pinball Champ here. And then afterwards, they all really improved. I really liked Winter Sports as well. That was like my number 12. Future World, I thought was a really terrible table, actually. I don't really like Future World at all. I mean, there's a lot of tables in here that have issues where I have issues like, oh, this one shot is so hard to do, but it's something that's necessary to start modes, and if you can't do it, you wind up just attempting it again and again and again and again and failing again and again and again. And it's just maybe the shot is too difficult, or it's really tight like it is in Pool Champion. Oh, Pool Champion is so ridiculous in order to start modes. This wound up at the bottom of my list because I got so frustrated at it. I was like, okay, this is easily my last place. Boom. And what was funny is it was funny about Pool Champion Remake is I thought I was going to enjoy it. I thought it was going to be in the top 10. And then when I played it again, I was like, oh yeah, this is a really tough shot to make. And I played game after game after game after game, trying to get the start mode lit and not being able to do it, and just frustrating me. And, a lot of these tables were the same way. Like shooting the Rapids, in order to start the mode, there's a hole in the middle of a circular spinning table with pegs, and it's something you can't really shoot for. So it's up to luck to start modes in that table. That's why that doesn't wind up in my top 10. And I could go on and on and on, but it's all the similar theme with the tables that that were at the bottom of my list. Shots that were basically, I felt, were too difficult, but were necessary in order to get the table to do anything interesting. But yeah, that is you know, what you saw was my top 10. That's all that is really necessary for this video, I suppose. And if you did like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And other than that, I'll see you all next time. Bye.